Under the soft golden lights of Buckingham Palace, what were once whispered rumors in quiet hallways have begun to echo clearly. King Charles III's health is steadily deteriorating. Since the cancer diagnosis was announced earlier this year, the monarch has withdrawn from several key events, handing over the majority of royal duties to Prince William. Recent images of him noticeably thinner, walking more slowly, his face weary, have only deepened public concern. At a time when post-Brexit Britain craves strong leadership amid ongoing political instability, Charles's prolonged absence has quietly plunged the monarchy into a crisis of confidence. According to insiders within the palace, a series of private meetings have taken place between Charles, Camilla, and Prince William, discussing a potentially seismic decision the king may abdicate in the near future and pass the crown to his son. A rare move in modern royal history, but increasingly seen as the only viable option to ensure continuity and stability for the monarchy during these uncertain times. The big question now is no longer, can Charles continue to reign, but rather, when will he step down if this comes to pass? William's ascension won't merely mark a royal succession, it will herald a new era for Britain and the world. That very morning, as newspapers lay damp with dew on British doorsteps, the nation was rocked by a shocking announcement from Buckingham Palace. In a brief yet blade-sharp statement, the official spokesperson confirmed King Charles III has been diagnosed with a form of cancer. However, it was caught early and is being treated promptly. No details were provided about the type of cancer, no timeline of diagnosis or treatment, no indication of the stage, just a sterile sentence wrapped in the sugary veneer of public reassurance. But for those who understand how the royal machine operates, the silence was more terrifying than the admission itself. Why was such a serious illness kept under wraps until it required a formal announcement? Why not reveal the type of cancer? And why would a system known for secrecy suddenly opt for a global confession? The media exploded. BBC led with the red breaking banner, breaking, King Charles III diagnosed with cancer. The Daily Mail screamed, storm at Buckingham. The Guardian called it a historic milestone for a reign barely underway. Within 2 hours, the news had swept across the globe. Social media was set ablaze from heartfelt prayers to chilling speculation about the monarch's true condition. Almost instantly, the British public began piecing together clues they had overlooked. When viewed in hindsight, the most unsettling truth emerged. The signs had been there all along, clear as daylight, only no one wanted to believe. King Charles had begun missing a string of traditional events, ceremonies he never skipped, even as Prince of Wales. The annual tree planting at Balmoral, a cherished occasion showcasing his bond with nature in Scotland, was abruptly cancelled without explanation. A school visit in Cornwall was called off at the last minute due to scheduling changes. But the most conspicuous absence came during Ash Wednesday, a solemn cornerstone of the Church of England, where, instead of the king, it was Prince William who gave the official royal address. That moment quietly planted the seeds of doubt. William, long known for his reserved and composed nature, suddenly emerged at the forefront of royal visibility. He began attending diplomatic meetings, public engagements, even major international conferences, duties traditionally reserved for a sovereign. Observers began calling him by an unofficial title, the Shadow King. It appeared a parallel monarchy was taking shape in silence. While the reigning monarch slowly faded into the background, the image of Charles in his rare public appearances only further reinforced the growing suspicions. He had visibly lost weight. His impeccably tailored suits no longer fit as they used to, creating an unusual looseness around the shoulders and sleeves. His face was gaunt, his skin dull and grayish, as if veiled in a thin mist. His eyes, once firm and resolute, now looked distant, lifeless, and even focused. In his speeches, Charles no longer spoke with the strong and clear voice he once had. There were many moments when he had to pause to catch his breath, his face tightening with an exhaustion he could no longer hide. On one occasion, during a memorial ceremony, he quietly took his seat earlier than expected, leaving William to read the final lines of the speech on his behalf. Each of those details, small and scattered when pieced together, formed a chillingly bleak picture. One didn't need to be a medical expert to see it. The King of England was weakening, and the crown on his head had never seemed so heavy. Sources close to the royal household, people who had spent decades in loyal silence, were now beginning to reveal worrying details. That at Sandringham, during a private meeting, Charles had to remain seated throughout the brief session, which lasted less than 15 minutes, due to a mild dizzy spell. That during the opening ceremony of a medical center in Kent, the king was ushered into his private car earlier than scheduled, before he could shake hands with all the guests. And most notably, a source from Clarence House revealed that there had already been emergency rehearsals for the scenario in which Charles would suddenly be unable to attend public events, a protocol never considered when he was still Prince of Wales. The situation became even more concerning when several longtime advisors quietly stepped away. No farewell statement, no press conference, no final group photo. Sir Jonathan Halford, once regarded as the media brain behind Charles for over 3 decades, suddenly vanished from the list of honorary advisors. Lady Margaret Wellesley, senior protocol advisor, always seen by his side at major royal events, was said to have requested extended unpaid leave for personal reasons. But everyone knows, in the royal world, personal reasons often serve as a mask for strategic withdrawals. The question now was not, is something happening, but rather how much is being hidden. If a king is being slowly worn down day by a cruel illness, then who holds the truth? Do the people not deserve to know that the throne stands on the edge of an unannounced transition? And while Camilla tries to maintain a graceful smile in front of the press, while William increasingly appears in senior roles, behind the scenes the picture is becoming clear. Charles is no longer the absolute center of power. He is fighting quietly, silently, not only against the illness within his body, but also against time, against fate, and against a throne that may soon change hands. Beneath the relentless wave of rumors and breathless signs of deterioration, one question is growing louder in the public's mind. Is King Charles III preparing for a historic abdication as his steps become slower, as his eyes lose the resolute glint seen in the early days of his reign? A new chapter may be silently unfolding behind the red velvet curtain of Buckingham Palace. And what's more frightening is that it might have begun long ago. In the history of the British monarchy, abdication is not common, but it is not without precedent. The shockwave named Edward VIII in 1936 still echoes in the kingdom's collective memory. That king, for the love of a divorced woman, Wallis Simpson, chose to give up the throne after less than a year of reign. That event was once seen as a royal earthquake, a crack that nearly shook the very institution. But whether condemned or admired, that decision opened up an undeniable reality: the crown is not immutable. And for King Charles III, who waited 7 decades to ascend the throne, the irony lies in this: he may become the first modern monarch to voluntarily step down for reasons beyond fame and title. In her final years, Queen Elizabeth II was rumored to have considered abdication, especially after the age of 90, as her health began to decline. Although she remained on the throne until her last breath, internal discussions within the royal family about a soft transition plan had already been initiated long before. And those discreet plans now seem to be reopened, this time for Charles. Signs of a soft transition are becoming increasingly apparent, not through grand declarations on national television, but through the king's gradual retreat into the background, leaving the stage to his eldest son. Prince William now not only appears more frequently in public engagements, but also presides over key events, from climate summits to overseas visits on behalf of the monarchy. The media has begun using the phrase "king in waiting," but the real question is, how much longer will he have to wait? Catherine, Princess of Wales, is also occupying an unprecedented position. Her appearances representing the royal family at global summits, meetings with world leaders, and high-level charity events have prompted the British press to unabashedly call her the future Queen Britain needs. And it seems Buckingham Palace quietly endorses that. Formal portraits of William and Catherine's family appear more frequently on official royal channels. Articles praising Catherine's composure, moral character, and unblemished public image are becoming more common, as if the media is being gently prepared for a transfer of power not through a coronation, but through public acceptance. While the public outside remains skeptical, within the ancient walls of Buckingham Palace, family meetings are taking place with unprecedented frequency. A source close to the royal family revealed that there have been at least 3 private meetings in just the past month involving King Charles, Princess Anne, Prince William, and a number of senior advisors who once worked directly with the late Queen Elizabeth II. These discussions, notably without Camilla, are said to revolve around the future of the monarchy and the most publicly acceptable succession plan in the event of an emergency. And in these very meetings, according to an anonymous source from Clarence House, Charles reportedly expressed for the first time his intention to possibly abdicate, not because he's giving up, but because he wants to protect the image of the British monarchy from speculation surrounding age, illness, and disconnection from the modern era. This statement, if confirmed, could open the door to a historic abdication, not forced, not scandalous, but a conscious choice from the man once described as the most prepared king in British history. Meanwhile, Camilla was not informed in advance about these strategic moves. Her absence from important meetings has only fueled rumors of a deepening rift within the royal family. Reports suggest she quietly left the palace for Highgrove after learning she was not included among those consulted on the succession plan. For someone who had only recently been crowned queen consort, this is a troubling signal. And it's not hard to see why many are beginning to ask, is Charles protecting his family or preparing to end his role as the head of a royal dynasty? The prolonged silence from the palace, instead of calming the public, only further fuels the fire of suspicion. International media began running bold headlines as Charles stepping down evening talk shows competed to dissect the king's behavior during his recent appearances. And on social media, millions of comments endlessly speculated on the possibility that a king is quietly stepping back to make way for a new generation. Meanwhile, William and Catherine have remained silent. No comment, no confirmation. Yet what they do speaks louder than any statement. Every step they take, from meticulously crafted speeches to bringing their children to formal events, seems to paint a clear portrait of the kingdom's next leadership generation. A generation that knows how to listen, how to empathize, and most importantly, how to exist in a world that no longer worships absolute power. And so, what was once a hypothesis is slowly becoming reality, a silent transition, needing no Westminster bells to ring it in. Just a cloudy afternoon at Buckingham, a sealed envelope delivered to the British Prime Minister, and an announcement that could shake all of Europe. The only question that remains, will Charles become the second monarch in modern British history to abdicate, or is this all a calculated move to test public reaction? Whatever the answer, one thing is already clear: the throne is beginning to tremble. And when the throne shakes, not only must the royal family prepare, but all of Britain will have to choose a side. All the subtle tremors around King Charles III's throne seem to point to a single destination: a historic abdication may be near. But while public attention focuses solely on William and Catherine, while the kingdom begins to envision a bright new reign, a more pressing question lurks in the shadows of power. What will happen to Camilla if Charles abdicates? Because unlike William, and who is widely accepted by the nation, and unlike Catherine, the new emblem of royal kindness, Camilla remains a deeply divisive figure. She entered the palace through a path marked by condemnation, the path that shattered Princess Diana, fractured public trust, and left Charles's credibility hanging in the balance for decades. Though officially crowned queen consort, Camilla has never truly entered the hearts of the British people. And if Charles steps down from the throne, that very title stands on the brink of collapse. Imagine this: if Charles is no longer king, Camilla will lose everything that once shielded her from public outrage: the crown, the power, and especially the solid shadow of a reigning husband. When the throne passes to William, a man who has never publicly endorsed the marriage between his father and Camilla, The question arises, will she retain any place within the royal family's power structure? By royal tradition, the title of queen consort is not an independent rank. It exists only because she is the wife of the reigning king. When the king abdicates, this title has no legal or ceremonial authority. Technically, Camilla will no longer be queen consort. She will become a lady who once was the wife of a former monarch. And for someone who spent nearly half a lifetime climbing the ladder of prestige, that is a free fall with no safety net. It doesn't stop there. A palace insider once revealed that William and Camilla have never had a truly friendly relationship. Even when standing beside each other in front of cameras, William's eyes always maintained a cold distance, while Camilla, despite her effort to appear gracious, carried a lingering unease, as if she always knew she lived in the reluctant acceptance of the heir. If William ascends the throne and chooses to restructure the royal household, which many observers believe is inevitable, Camilla's role could be severely reduced. No longer attending major events, no longer featured in official press releases, no longer granted an honorary seat at national ceremonies. Even more concerning is that a public backlash could erupt at any moment. In the eyes of many Britons, Camilla remains the woman who broke Princess Diana's heart. That resentment has never truly subsided. It's merely been concealed beneath layers of royal protocol. Once Charles abdicates, that tide of hatred may resurface, no longer bound by reverence for a king. Headlines that were once cautiously worded might return with brutal intensity. Camilla the fallen queen, from the shadows to the throne, back to the shadows again, or worse still, the last one standing in the palace no one wants to see. And then, a darker scenario of Charles, in the final moment of his reign, abdicated without arranging an honorary role for Camilla. She may be cast aside, not by formal decree, but through quiet exclusion from events, from royal schedules, and from public memory. The name Camilla could slowly be replaced by new images of Catherine, the ideal wife of Britain, the model mother, and the inspiring queen-to-be. Under Catherine's radiant spotlight, Camilla will slowly retreat into the shadows as a remnant of a controversial past. Not to mention, the biggest question still lingers. Is Charles willing to bring Camilla into his retirement phase, or will he retreat to Sandringham or Balmoral in the final months of his life, surrounded only by his biological grandchildren and the children of Diana Camilla? Once praised as Charles's steadfast support, may now have to face the greatest tragedy of all, being excluded from the very life of the man she sacrificed her entire youth to win over. The situation becomes even more complicated as Charles's close advisors also begin to show signs of stepping back. According to some sources within the royal family, at least 3 senior advisors who used to work directly with him have either opted for early retirement or been reassigned, amid growing concerns over the king's unstable health. The departure of these power satellites not only signals the end of an era, but also strips Camilla of her most crucial political defense system. With no more protection, no more crown, and no more public trust, Camilla may have to face the greatest nightmare of her royal life: complete isolation. And isolation, for someone who spent her entire life climbing the ladder of power, is the most absolute kind of downfall. Some will pity her. Some will say, after all, she is the king's lawful wife. But in a palace now being rejuvenated by William and Catherine, where respect is built upon image rather than titles, Camilla's presence has become a hindrance. And if Charles no longer has the strength to keep her by his side, then even a small corner in the royal audience hall may become a luxury. She was once the woman the king loved enough to defy everything for. But when the throne no longer belongs to him, will that love be strong enough to keep her standing in a world that's changing by the hour, or will Camilla fall into the cruel fate of a queen without a crown? Someone history will only mention as a controversial footnote between the glorious chapters of William and Catherine. The answer has yet to come. But time is not on Camilla's side. And if, one day soon, the doors of Buckingham close behind a solemn coronation ceremony, then amidst the thunderous applause welcoming a new reign, there may be only one person left behind: Camilla, silently walking through the cold corridors of a palace she once thought was her final destination. And while Camilla struggles to find her footing amid a seismic shift in power on another side of the palace, William and Catherine are quietly stepping forward as the unstoppable symbols of a new monarchy, one where heart, reason, and love are held above all else. As Charles sinks into extended treatments and Camilla fades into the background like a character written out of the political drama, William and Catherine, with their steady composure and modern spirit, have stepped onto the stage as the undeniable protagonists of the future monarchy. No fanfare, no grand declarations. They simply appeared, but enough to draw all eyes toward them. And as Charles prepares to hand over the crown, the public is not just anticipating a coronation, but hoping for a historic shift, the reign of William and Catherine, the couple of a new era. William is not just the heir to the throne, he is a living symbol of the fusion between tradition and innovation. Unlike his father, who clung tightly to classical rituals and often felt detached from public sentiment, William walks among the people with an uncanny sense of closeness. And the everyday meetings, the heartfelt conversations, and especially the way he brushes aside formalities to truly listen, all of it allows the public to feel this is not just a future king, but a guide for a nation still reeling from Brexit, economic crises, and royal scandals. But William is not alone. Standing firmly beside him is Catherine, the woman who once entered the palace as a common girl, now becoming the model of a queen consort that Britain has never seen in modern history. She carries the essence of Diana, but not her tragic shadow. Catherine is a self-possessed, composed figure who knows how to stand tall in the storm without leaning on a crown for support. When William represents the royal family at high-level meetings, Catherine connects with the hearts of the people. When William speaks out on environmental issues, Catherine quietly supports children's education. And when scandals or waves of negative public opinion surround the palace, Catherine says nothing, but that very silence is a formidable calm, making her stepmother Camilla wary time and again. It can be said that they are a couple who embody all the elements needed to create a different kind of monarchy: courage, intellect, emotion, and love. Because the love between William and Catherine is not something staged for display. It is a love that matured through breakups and reconciliations, through years when Catherine had to endure the harsh gaze of the public and the press as the unwed girlfriend of the prince. It is a love that survived family scandals, the death of Queen Elizabeth II, and even the silent tensions between William and Harry. And at this moment, as the future of the throne is about to be decided, that love has become the pillar of an empire yearning for change. The international media has spared no praise for them. The New York Times called William and Catherine symbols of the 21st century monarchy, a reign focused more on connection than on rule. Le Monde emphasized that Catherine is la reine de l'âme, the queen of the soul, for the way she protected Charlotte from indirect attacks by Camilla, or her sensitivity when accompanying the public during national remembrance events. Meanwhile, in the UK, the front pages of the Daily Mail, the Times, and the Guardian have all published long analytical pieces on why William and Catherine are the ideal choice should Charles decide to abdicate amidst his current health issues. They are not merely preparing to inherit the throne, they are creating a new definition of power, where kindness, presence, and humanity replace cold rituals and outdated formalities. Catherine once said in a brief interview, "We don't want to be seen as a royal family. We want to be remembered as a real family, with love, with flaws, but always standing up for one another." That statement echoed like a message from heart to heart, not just a media strategy, but a guiding principle for what they intend to bring to the United Kingdom's future. And the miraculous thing is, even their children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, are already reflecting that vision. George is increasingly seen at major events. Charlotte grows more confident and poised. Louis, though still young, brings a joyful innocence that serves as a gentle remedy amid the political tensions surrounding the palace. All these images, a royal family not perfect but relatable, are making the public feel that the monarchy is no longer a distant symbol, but a living part of the national story. And for that reason, as Charles slowly fades from the camera lens, as Camilla quietly retreats backstage, William and Catherine, hand in hand, need not make any declarations to let the world understand their era is arriving. An era that is not just about succeeding to the throne, but about reshaping the entire image of the British royal family in the eyes of the global public. They are not ascending the throne out of privilege. They are stepping up because of the trust of millions. A trust that believes a real family, a lasting love, and a compassionate heart can do what centuries of ceremony could not: touch the hearts of the people. William and Catherine are the powerful answer to a question that once bewildered all of Europe. Does the monarchy still have a place in the modern world? To them, the monarchy not only still has a place, it has a new path forward, sincere, steady, and impossible to ignore. And if the hypothesis becomes reality, if King Charles suddenly announces his abdication due to health reasons, then what would happen? A transfer of power unprecedented in modern times would officially begin. Not driven by scandal, not by force, but by a shocking decision from the very peak of power, a king who voluntarily steps down. Once that announcement is made, Prince William will officially become King William V, the rightful heir to the throne under the established line of succession. And beside him, none other than Catherine, the most beloved royal daughter-in-law in modern British history, will ascend to the title of Queen Consort, a symbol of grace, intelligence, and public spirit not seen since the days of Princess Diana. But what about Camilla, the woman who weathered countless storms to be recognized as Queen Consort? Will she now have to quietly withdraw into the background? In a scenario without precedent, she may become a kind of dowager queen without a title, no throne, no real power, but still quietly present within the royal household, like a shadow of a past that never quite disappears. The change will go far beyond titles. It will be a historic turning of the page for the British monarchy. Public trust, once shaken by waves of turbulence, will be strongly restored. The people of Britain and the world will see in William and Catherine a new kind of royalty, more accessible, more human, more modern. No longer a distant emblem of an ancient regime, but the living embodiment of a transforming England. They will be the couple who lead the British monarchy into a new era, one in which royal authority no longer stems from medals or rituals, but from empathy and genuine connection with the people. And while King Charles may retreat to care for his health in peace, a new chapter will be written by youthful hands, full of resolve, and carrying the legacy of both Diana and Elizabeth II. So if Charles abdicates, it won't just be a personal decision. It could be a turning point that forever changes how the world sees the British crown. Does King Charles have the courage to take that final step for the future of the monarchy? Will he accept stepping back, putting the long-term interest of the institution above personal honor, to hand the crown to the next generation, William and Catherine? Or in the end, will he choose the path his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, once resolutely followed, to stay until the last breath, bearing the full weight of duty, crown, and responsibility? No one can be certain of the future. But one thing is undeniable: the times are changing. The children of the 21st century no longer bow to mere authority. They demand connection, sincerity, and living symbols that truly inspire. And it is William's generation, Catherine, Charlotte, George, and Louis, who, with warm hearts, sharp minds, and deeply humane actions, are gradually becoming the embodiment of that future. Whether Charles stays or goes, a new era has quietly begun. An era where royal power doesn't come from medals or titles, but from the people's trust. And you, those who are following this story, are part of that journey too. If you believe that a modern monarchy needs kindness and courage, Hit subscribe to join us in uncovering the truths behind Buckingham's velvet curtain. Because wherever power exists, there are always untold secrets, and we will tell them with you.